It was the announcement that broke the nerd-based internet. Robert Downey Jr. shall be returning to the MCU, but not as Tony Stark. No, instead RDJ has been cast by the Russo brothers to play their version of Victor Von Doom. The announcement was made to a thunderous reception in Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con, but there has since been a lot of discussion online about whether or not this is a good or bad choice by Marvel. Before we get into the discussion though, let's look back at the overall chain of events that have led us here. In 2007, RDJ is cast as Tony Stark. In 2008, Iron Man releases, plus he features as a cameo in the Incredible Hulk end credit scene. In 2010, he returns to don the suit again in Iron Man 2. In 2012, the first Avengers movie is released. 2013 sees Iron Man 3 hit screens. In 2015, Tony Stark is back in Avengers Age of Ultron. In 2016, he appears opposite Captain America in Civil War. In 2017, he features in Tom Holland's first standalone Spider-Man movie, Homecoming. In 2018, we get Avengers Infinity War. And in 2019, the death of Tony Stark hits us in Avengers Endgame. 2 years later, 2021, Jonathan Majors debuts as He Who Remains in Loki. This is confirmed as being a Kang variant. In 2022, he stars again as Kang, this time in Ant-Man Quantumania, and in 2023 he plays another Kang variant in Loki Season 2 called Victor Timely. In early 2023, Jonathan Majors was arrested and eventually put on trial for assault and harassment charges, and in December, Majors was found guilty and convicted. At this point, Marvel parts company with him. And then in 2024, RDJ is announced and revealed as Victor Von Doom at SDCC. So now that we're all up to speed, let's get into my thoughts on this casting choice. For starters, there is no doubt in my mind that RDJ is one of the founding stones of the entire MCU. Without his performance in that first Iron Man film, we wouldn't have got the cavalcade of awesomeness that is the MCU as we know it today. Of course, there's been hits and misses along the way, but it all started with Tony Stark, and in a way it kind of ended with him too. Since the character's death in Endgame, a lot of people have speculated that the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe has felt a little bit off. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but it is kind of coincidental that the quality of films hasn't felt the same since that massive 11-year story arc came to a conclusion. Then when Kang the Conqueror was announced as the next big bad of the movies, there was a lot of hope. Kang is a major villain in the comic series and in some of the animated stuff too, and the casting of Jonathan Majors actually seemed pretty inspired at the time. However, the portrayal of the character on screen didn't go over well, and the subsequent personal issues of Jonathan Majors put a rather understandable downer on the entire thing. When he was let go by Marvel, so many people started to speculate that since Marvel had now gained the ability to utilise the first family of comics in the Fantastic Four, Doom was pretty much the most obvious choice to come in as the next force of nature for the Avengers to stand against. Fan casting with this went wild. Like, who could play this technological, magical powerhouse ruler of Latveria? And names like Henry Cavill and Cillian Murphy were at the top of the list. Then in July of this year, the Russo brothers dropped a massive H-bomb sized bombshell live on stage in Hall H. They announced that yes, Doom would indeed be the big bad, and there was only one person they felt could portray him effectively. A cloaked figure walks center stage through a bunch of Doom-alikes, Doombots if you will. They whip off the mask and bang, it's RDJ. He then hits us with that cryptic little new mask, same task, and the internet understandably exploded. Fans went wild, and everyone started speculating as to how exactly this could work. Would it be a Stark variant? Would other characters in the movies recognise him and think it was Stark? Which comic stories would they utilise or adapt for the now titled Avengers Doomsday movie? It all became a bit of a blur. I don't know a lot about the stories that are being discussed, but Coy Jandreau actually goes into it a lot more detailed in his video. I'll link that down below in the comments. Once the hype died down though, a few other issues came to light. Like, was RDJ even the right call for casting in this role? Von Doom is historically a Romany character, and clearly Downey isn't that? Is this another instance of a character just being whitewashed for cinema? How can Marvel write this character in a way that makes sense for both the film, for the story, and for the audience watching it? It's not like he only played Tony Stark in a one-off appearance or in a little bit part somewhere. He was in 10 movies over an 11-year period. He is essentially the father of this universe. Stark and Downey Jr. literally started the MCU, and they were a cornerstone of it through those first 3 phases. The death of Tony Stark was one of the biggest culminations of an arc ever. People cannot and will not just forget the person behind the character. Seeing Downey play someone else within this universe is going to be incredibly difficult to pull off. There's always been a lot of speculation as to whether or not the Russo brothers are even a good fit for Marvel. Some people speculate that their storytelling isn't quite as up to scratch as we think, but visually we kind of let that slip. Can they do it effectively? We'll just have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts on this RDJ casting in the comments down below, and don't forget to like the video if you've enjoyed this and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next one.